A top story first. It's day 2 of the much-awaited Karnataka cabinet expansion, an exercise that appears to be gathering some pace. Now, while we still don't have clarity on the portfolios that are set to be assigned to specific ministers in the state cabinet, or if there are any new inductees in the reshuffled cabinet of Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar, Public Works Minister Satish Jarkiholi has said that preliminary discussions over the reshuffle have already begun, with another round of talks expected before the final list of ministers is cleared by the Congress High Command. Now, for context, senior state leadership of the Karnataka Congress, including Chief Minister Shivkumar, former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, and senior leader and Minister B.K. Hariprasad, have been in New Delhi since yesterday to conduct discussions with the party leadership over where portfolios must go. Moving on to some courtroom action next, the Madras High Court will hear a challenge to the National Green Tribunal's new construction ban and construction approvals ban within a kilometre radius of the Chennai marshland in Chennai. Now, the case is scheduled for hearing on the 3rd of August. This even as developers in Chennai, remember, have been hit by a planning freeze in one of the city's busiest real estate corridors, thanks to the presence of an ecologically sensitive marsh in the vicinity. Now, these developers have argued that the blanket ban and restriction is unscientific and has stalled development across large parts of South Chennai. Earlier this week, South Central spoke to the president of CREDAI Chennai, Mehul Doshi. Let's revisit that conversation.
In fact, this is the fact. Okay, so there has been some confusion about the entire process of Ramsar and how the sites are declared and how is the area delineated. So, as per the wetland rules, there is a certain step-by-step procedure which is laid out for a particular land to be declared as a wetland. So, just to give a little background, originally 700 hectares of the Pallikarnai forest was declared as a reserved forest in the year 2007. Now, this area was clearly demarcated, the boundaries were clearly marked, survey numbers were identified, and the entire details were passed on to CMDA, who also incorporated the same in the second master plan. So, after 2007, no approvals were given in this 700 hectare area. In 2022, the government decided to increase this area from 700 hectares to 1250 hectares, which means that another 550 hectares were added. And at the same time, they got the Ramsar designation for this site. Now, Ramsar is a designation it's an internationally recognized designation for a wetland. So that's what happened in 2022. But the additional 550 hectares, which were declared as part of that 1250 hectares, were not clearly identified.
Moving on, PepsiCo is expanding its manufacturing footprint in Tamil Nadu. In fact, CEO for India and South Asia, Jagrut Kultecha, has said that the company has acquired land in the state for a new snack manufacturing facility, which will strengthen its food business in South India. The proposed plant is part of PepsiCo's broader 5,700 crore rupee investment plan through 2030 to expand manufacturing capacity across the country, thereby underlining Tamil Nadu's growing appeal as a food processing and FMCG hub. My colleague Kuldeep caught up with the PepsiCo India boss on that development. Here's a slice of that conversation.
The next plant which comes up is in Tamil Nadu, where we've secured the land. So we are going to expand. We are here to stay with India.
Moving on, India has flagged off its first ever hydrogen-powered train, marking a major step towards cleaner rail transport. Now, in case you didn't know, the indigenous 1,200 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell train was conceptualized, designed and built at the Integral Coach factory in Chennai. Scheduled to run between Jind and Sonipat in Haryana, emitting only water vapor and producing zero carbon emissions at the point of use, the product sees India join a select group of countries operating hydrogen-powered trains. The flag-off also comes even as the Indian Railways accelerates its green mobility ambitions. Here's a glimpse of what the train is and what its tech is all about. In fact, our correspondent Bhavna joins us from the Jind railway station with India's hydrogen train launch. Let's listen in.
Indian Railway is all set to launch country's first hydrogen passenger train, marking a major milestone in India's green mobility journey. We are here at Jind railway station, and here it is India's first hydrogen train. If we talk about this train, unlike conventional trains that run on diesel, coal or overhead electricity, this train generates its own electricity using hydrogen fuel cells. The biggest advantage is that it produces only water vapor as emission, making it completely clean and environment-friendly mode of transport. This is also said to become the world's largest, highest capacity hydrogen passenger train with 2 power cars and 8 coaches capable of carrying around 2,600 passengers. If we talk about this train, the train has a maximum design speed of 110 kilometers per hour, while operation on the Jind-Sonipat route is in Haryana will begin at 75 km per hour. To support its operation, Indian Railway has built its own country's largest railway hydrogen refueling station at Jind. Safety is also being given top priority. The train is equipped with hydrogen leak detectors, fire and smoke sensors, automatic shutdown system and real-time monitoring, ensuring safe operation despite hydrogen, a highly flammable fuel. The inaugural service will run between Jind-Sonipat junction, covering 89-kilometer route and halt at 12 station. With its launch, Indian Railway is taking a significant step towards building a cleaner, greener, future-ready transport system and plans to introduce hydrogen power train on heritage routes like Kalka, Shimla in coming years. And in some time, PM Narendra Modi will be in Haryana, Jind, where he will show green flag to this first country's hydrogen passenger train. With camera person Satyendra Singh, Bhavna Kishore for ET Now.
Well, India's first ever hydrogen-powered train all set to take to the rails there. Now, moving on to our South Central exclusive next. It's not just in India, but across the world that access to reliable childcare remains one of the biggest barriers to women staying or even re-entering the workforce after childbirth. In fact, whatever options in childcare do exist have largely remained in the unorganized space, with very little formal training, job security or social protection to the women providing these services. Then there's the question of safety. In an overwhelmingly informal sector, the lack of background checks and standardized vetting with little assurance that, have left parents with little assurance that their children are in safe hands. But one Bengaluru startup is looking to change that equation. Supernan is training women from low-income backgrounds as certified childcare professionals using AI-powered tools, formal employment contracts, and technology to formalize and professionalize caregiving. The bootstrapped startup has already trained over 500 nannies. It services over 1,000 families and is now preparing to expand beyond Bengaluru. So joining us now to discuss that journey and what lies ahead are the co-founders of the startup, Neeti Bhatt and Sri Ganesh TV. Neeti, Sri Ganesh, good to have you with us here in South Central. Let me start with you, Neeti. India has millions of educated women, I just said it, who've stepped away from their careers simply because they cannot find reliable childcare. So from your experience, how big is this gap? And what made you believe it could actually be solved through a platform like Supernan?
Thank you for that question. Jude, the market, I think, is massive. The gap is huge. I have to quote from a report by Ashoka University, 73% of women actually quit their jobs at the onset of motherhood, and only a quarter of those women eventually return to the workforce. And an even smaller percentage, 16% to be exact, just 16% of women actually go on to achieve senior leadership roles. So this is the story of almost every household in India and probably the rest of the world. And it's not really a talent or an ambition problem, so to speak. It's more an infrastructure problem. And this is something that we've lived ourselves. We've had to quit our jobs to actually be with our kids. One of us has had to stay back and give up on our careers. And that's because in the earlier days, we had a village that was, there to help raise a child. Now, with more and more nuclear families, we don't really have that village anymore. And that's been replaced by just someone recommended to us, either through our security guards or, someone on a WhatsApp group. Not really someone that we can be 100% sure about, someone trustworthy. So that's the problem that we're here to solve with Supernan.
Right, Sri Ganesh, coming over to you next. The fact remains that most childcare services in India are still highly fragmented and are in the unorganized space. So what role does technology and increasingly AI actually play in making childcare safer, more reliable and easier for parents to actually go about accessing?
Thanks for that question, Jude, and it's a very timely question, I must say. So Supernan is managed by a very lean team, managing a very large number of nannies. So for us, tech plays a huge role. It's largely three pillars, I would say: screening, training, and supervision. So we have a full screening pipeline, which is totally tech automated, right from the thousands of people who apply to become nannies every month. Screened, interviewed, and finally gotten onto the platform. That is a fully automated dashboard and a kind of tracking system that has been written fully in-house by us. Then the training. Now the training is really interesting. First, we used to rent out classrooms and do classroom training sessions all over Bangalore. And as we gained experience and figured out what's the best way to do training, now we've got a fully AI-enabled training platform, fully on WhatsApp. So why WhatsApp is it's because all our nannies use this one app, which everyone basically in India uses and knows how to use. So we send them training lessons on WhatsApp, and they send us back evaluations, which are either voice notes or a video demonstration, and we evaluate that with AI and give them a score. That you do many times over is a big training for them, which they can take at their own pace in their own house. So that's how tech is really taking over training for us, and of course supervision. So I would say we are one of the best tech-enabled childcare platforms across the world, not only in India, because we use tech in everything from geofencing to see attendance, and we have a first in the world AI-enabled safety system. We felt that SOS buttons weren't enough. What if the nanny has an emergency and she couldn't reach her phone? So we implemented more than 2 years ago an AI-enabled voice safety system where only her voice is kind of checked. If she's shouting for help, we automatically get SOS across the company and our emergency protocols go into place. So we wanted to protect privacy, so it's therefore only the nanny's voice which is checked, and that is how we use technology for supervision as well. I would say there's no way we could reach the scale we've reached already with such a lean team without the use of AI and tech, and it's only going to go bigger from here.
Right. Now, Neeti, I'm sure you'll agree with me that while tech may get the job done, like Sri Ganesh was saying, the fact is that trust is at the very heart of this business. So how do you recruit, train and verify caregivers so that parents are actually confident when leaving their children in their care?
Right. As far as trust is concerned, I think in the childcare industry, police verification is seen as the be-all and end-all of someone being seen as trustworthy. But for us at Supernan, I think police verification is just the very beginning. We do multiple rounds of screening. We check for, we check with their previous employers if there are any sort of behavioral red flags that we should be watching out for. We also speak to their families. We do family checks to see how their families can support them in being efficient and reliable. Because a lot of the time it is their families that are actually, the biggest stumbling block or, an obstacle in their way. So we speak to the families. We see if, this person is actually right for the job. We actually conduct psychometric tests to ensure that they have the right temperament, because I think that is one of the most important things in this field. We need to make sure that the person that we're hiring has the right temperament for the job. And we also, of course, do a very, very intensive training where they're taken through all aspects of childcare, and we make sure that they're able to engage the child in an age-appropriate manner. So all of this is covered as part of our training, but that's not it. Once they're on our platform, so all of this is for the nanny to be able to get onto the platform. Even when they're on our platform, it's not the end of it. We ensure that every single piece of feedback that is given to us from the parents is something that we take very, very seriously and act upon. If it's something that requires for the nanny to be retrained, then we do that. If it's something that's coachable, if not, we actually remove the nanny from the platform if it's a serious piece of feedback. So that's basically how we ensure that every single parent who gets on the platform is able to trust the nannies on Supernan absolutely blindly.
Right, Sri Ganesh, let's talk about business for a bit. Where are you today in terms of scale? I mean, I'm talking about active users, caregivers on the platform, revenue and revenue growth. Give us some numbers in terms of where you stack up. And what are the milestones that you're actually targeting over the next 12 months?
Thanks, Jude. I think this is the part that really makes us proud. We have more than 500 women who we've trained and who've earned through our platform, verifiable straight through bank statements. We have more than 1,000 families who have trusted us with their children. And we have paid more than 2 crores to our nannies as earning over the last few years. So this makes us super, super proud. I think for us, the main milestones that we're looking for in the next 12 months is to at least 3x or 4x the number of nanny providers we have on the platform, expand to another city, and also kind of make sure that we have our first B2B client, where we've had a couple of very large companies with more than 5,000 employees reach out to us to kind of take over their at-home kind of childcare provision that they want to give their employees. So those are the milestones for the next 12 months.
And in terms of revenue growth, Sri Ganesh, what's that growth number that you'd like to arrive at?
So each year has been quite a big multiple over the previous year. So it's not only in a percentage terms. We see it as the first year we had around 7x to 8x kind of growth. Then we had another 2x kind of growth. We definitely look at 2x or more for the next year coming up.
Right, back to you, Neeti. Now, you'll agree that the platform you've built isn't only about helping working parents. What you're also doing is creating livelihoods for hundreds of women. So what are these opportunities like, and what's the impact that you've created for women who've signed up to work using the platform, really?
Yeah, so there's two sides to this. We've had hundreds of moms, actually working moms, call us and tell me personally in the very early days that you are the reason that I'm able to go back to my job. You are the reason that I'm able to get back to work because there is someone that I can trust with my child, thanks to Supernan. So there are hundreds of these parents who constantly keep reminding us of why we do what we do. But on the other side, there are a lot of women that we've helped over these years, and I think I can think of a few examples. There's someone called Prema who came to us as a nanny, and when she sent us her picture, her selfie for her ID card, from where she lived, it was a tin shed, and I remember also asking her if that's where she lived, and she said yes, this is where I live and I have 4 children. And 3 months into working with Supernan, she was able to move into a nice comfortable 1 BHK house, and she was able to send all 4 of her children to school. So that's just one of the many stories that we have. We have a lot of single mothers. So someone named Hema who was able to put her daughter through medical school thanks to us. And with all of these single mothers, I mean, they are the sole breadwinners in their families, right? And there is absolutely no one else that they can turn to for support. And a lot of them have told us that, they've really struggled to find dignified work, and Supernan has helped, make that happen for them. So we're really proud of that.
Right, Sri Ganesh, you've built the product already and now you're looking to scale. Are you also actively looking to raise capital? And how much is that going to be, and where will that money be deployed?
Thanks, and that's a very timely question. We're in active conversation with multiple investors right now to raise more than 2 million. And I think the most exciting thing for investors as well is the demand pipeline that we have. We have more than 21,000 parents on the platform and only 500 nannies. So you can see immediately where the use of capital is going to go. It's going to rapidly ramp up the number of women we have on the platform and the number of livelihoods that we support. Of course, we get a lot of inquiries from across India, many unhappy parents that we are only in Bangalore. So we're going to use that capital to kind of make sure that those unhappy parents are made happy again. So that's the use of capital.
And which are the geographies that you're looking at on the expansion front beyond Bangalore, Sri Ganesh?
The first two cities we would expand to would be Mumbai and Hyderabad.
Well, Neeti and Sri Ganesh, thanks so much for joining us in breaking down Supernan's business. Surely a need of the hour as far as working parents are concerned and formalized childcare. Thanks so much for joining us on South Central. Moving on, South Indian Bank's board has approved the appointment of Mahesh Muralidhar Pai as its next managing director and CEO, following the Reserve Bank of India's clearance. Pai, who is currently Chief General Manager at Canara Bank, will take charge from the 1st of October for a 3-year term, subject to shareholder approval. The appointment marks a leadership transition at the Thrissur-headquartered private lender as it looks to sustain its turnaround and growth momentum. Moving on to some sporting action next. As we have been reporting this week, pubs and restaurants in Bengaluru have been permitted to stay open late to let fans catch up on live action from the FIFA World Cup in the United States. The move has renewed the city's already happening nightlife and has fans turn up in large droves to catch up with semi-final action featuring France, Spain, England and Argentina. These pubs will now get set to host a screening of the all-important World Cup final this weekend. My colleague Mansi decided to stop by one of these establishments in Bengaluru and do a mood check of how high the FIFA fever is.
During the football fever, FIFA, the new development which the Karnataka government has come up with, what does this mean and how does this feel to you?
I think it feels great. It feels like the government is actually listening to us sports lover. Because anyways, we would find ways to, have gatherings and all as a group of friends. But I think the government taking the initiative to allow the screenings till 3:30 a.m. I think it's a win-win situation because sometimes the bars and all, they find illegal ways to kind of do all this stuff. And I think it's a great initiative because it helps both the sports lovers as well as the government.
I think basically football and all, it's much more enjoyable if you watch it in a crowd rather than sitting at your home and watching alone, right? So if you come out and then if you can see it along with a good crowd who are all football lovers, then it's much more enjoyable. So I think it's a wonderful change.
Yeah, I think so. Because a lot of us actually are interested to move out, venture out with friends, and then watch the matches basically with all the emotions riding high, right? And especially when late night screenings are there, right? You feel like, okay, all the matches that you're watching and the actual action that is happening, that is being received by a whole lot more people than, let's say, if you're watching at home. So all the vibe that resonates, right, that gives a really very good feeling, be it a victory to the team that you are supporting.
Well, it looks like I might just make that trip to Bengaluru in time for the FIFA World Cup final and catch that match at one of those pubs in the city. But on that note, it's a wrap on this episode of South Central. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back soon with more news and updates from South India. But for the moment, it's goodbye from us.